Name the greatest Mario game. You may say to yourself, Super Mario 64, Mario Galaxy, heck, even Hotel Mario.
Oh, she made lots of spaghetti!
However, despite being one of the main Mario games, there's one that rarely gets talked about in high regard, such as the others, this being Super Mario 3D World for the Wii U. Before this game was announced, we had little to no information on what it would be like. All we knew was that it was going to be similar to the last three 3D Mario games, these being Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, as well as 3D Land. The bar for this game was held really high coming off of Galaxy, as well as the fact that this would be the first HD 3D Mario. So people believed that the next step for the series would be huge. And boy were they wrong. So when E3 2013 came around, we were graced with this. People were not happy with this announcement, and to be honest, I can't blame them. Fans expected a Mario Galaxy 3, not a 3D Land 2. It also didn't help that this game looked like all the other new Super Mario Bros. Games at the time. Along with this trailer, they revealed some cool things like the new cat suit, and how levels were going to be structured similar to like a 2D Mario game. But to me and many others, the coolest announcement was 4-player multiplayer. These characters being Mario, Luigi, Peach, and Toad, the same roster they had in the hit game, Super Mario Bros. 2, the American one. And Nintendo knew this, because after every level, they would tally up everybody's points, and the one with the highest got a crown. A useless digital crown that does absolutely nothing except ruin as many friendships as possible, and I love it. It also makes something as simple as playing a level with your friends more fun than it needs to be, and that's an awesome addition.
Like your father.
Dad? Your crown?
What the? My crown! Ah! Someone has stolen the crown! I got it! I got it!
Anyway, they also kept their traits from that game as well, with Luigi being able to jump the highest, Peach being able to float, Toad running the fastest, and Mario being normal like the loser he is. You could also imagine how chaotic it could get, and that's like most of the fun in 3D World, just throwing your friends off the level for no reason. But getting into the story, Bowser kidnaps
How original.
some fairies instead of Peach this time.
Daring today, aren't we?
I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea why Bowser wants to capture a bunch of random fairies, but he does, and we have to travel to the Sprixie Kingdom to stop him. And now to talk about where this game really shines, the levels. Every single level was a new idea after another, and each one was fantastic. Something cool about these levels, though, is how they never match their world theme. For instance, World 2 is a desert world and only has like 2 desert levels. Some might say this makes no sense, but I honestly think it makes every new level feel so fresh. But they didn't stop there, as they introduced some new styles of levels, such as the ones where you ride a dinosaur named Plessie, or the levels where you take control of Captain Toad, which later even got a full game. I always liked these levels because they would not have as many of them, but when they did, it was unforgettable. Similar to what I mentioned earlier, the levels are more like the ones you would see in a 2D Mario game, which some people say is a bad thing. I don't understand when people say this, since Mario Galaxy did something very similar, and people praise that game, including myself. I just think it looked too generic in its art style, so that when people look at it, it looks like something they've already seen before. Maybe if it stood out more, it would be paired together with games such as Galaxy much more often, because they're really not that different when you think about it. To make these levels even more fun, there are loads of power-ups and collectibles in each one. The main power-up of this game is the cat suit, which allows you to climb up walls. I love the simplicity of the cat suit and how useful it can be at times. Another brand new power-up is the double cherry, and it duplicates the character you're playing as when you touch it. The story behind this power-up was that a developer accidentally made 2 Marios, so they just kind of rolled with it. The rest of the power-ups come from 3D lands, such as the Tanuki leaf or the boomerang flower. Apart from just collecting power-ups, there are also 3 green stars and 1 stamp in every level. The green stars act the same as star coins, where collecting them is not necessary, but sometimes in the game it does need you to have at least a couple to progress. My personal favorite is the newly added stamps, because they honestly have the coolest feature of them all. When you find a stamp in a level, you are allowed to make a post on Miiverse using that same stamp. Unfortunately, Miiverse is now dead, but even despite the stamps no longer having enough use, it was always fun filling up your collection with them. This brings me to the point of saying why this game is so underrated. Everybody loves to gush about Super Mario 64 or Odyssey, but they never appreciate this game as much as the others. What I'm about to say will be controversial, but I think it's better than something like 64. Hear me out. This game felt so consistent all the way through in means of difficulty, level design, and just being fun. For me personally, Mario 64 starts off great, but later on the levels get a little unfair, and the controls make playing this game a whole lot harder. Obviously for the time, this was great, but playing it today, for some people, it isn't. I would love to make a video talking about Mario 64 soon, so if you're interested, tell me in the comments. Back to 3D World. The controls may not be cool as the other 3D Mario games, but it's good for the levels it has. There are no times I died where I blame the controls. It has always just been me being bad at the game. I would also go on to say that it used some really cool ideas, something you would expect in like the Galaxy games. After beating the game, I could remember most of the levels for how different they were, and I don't see enough praise for that. Now that I talked about what the game did right, I want to talk about what it did badly. Like I mentioned earlier, the controls were downgraded. Of course, this is not a huge issue to me, as they work well in each level. However, so many people did not like this about the game, because they kept losing all the cool attacks from the previous games, which is honestly a great point. Another thing I touched on earlier was how generic this game looked. All the other Mario games had a distinct look, and this just looked so basic. New Super Mario Bros. Level of basic. I think they should have taken some risks since they are not in the Mushroom Kingdom in this game. Instead, we're in a whole new world, so the art style should kind of match that. Okay, but the worst thing they did in this game was... Why is it when Blue Toad uses the fire power-up, he looks the same as when Yellow Toad uses it? Like seriously, has anybody even noticed this yet? Because I think I'm losing my mind. Speaking of Toad, let's talk about the final boss. Those two don't relate, but I couldn't find a transition. Anyway, when you get what seems to be Bowser's castle, the unthinkable happens. You didn't actually beat Bowser, so he opens up a carnival. Now, when you really get to the final level, I'ma be honest, it's not the best. The only part I remember was the end when you actually face off with Bowser himself. Presenting Furry Bowser. This part of the level is actually pretty cool since he chases you up this skyscraper. It's not hard at all, but when you get to the top, you actually kill Bowser and save the Sprixies. You may be thinking that you've beaten the game, but this is where the game is actually starting. In this post-game, you have not 1, not 2, not 3, not 5, but 4 new worlds to play through. The first is Star World, and I love this world because you get a new playable character, this being Rosalina. Rosalina's only ability is the spin from Mario Galaxy, and I actually really enjoy it. I'd say she's the easiest out of the 5, but probably my favorite. The next worlds are World Mushroom and Flower. These contain levels from the main game, but with a twist, such as a shortened timer, or just remixed level design. I love this world because despite being old levels, they still find a way to make them feel brand new. And now you may be wondering, how do we get to the final world? You have to collect every green star, every stamp, and get this, top of the flagpole on every level. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, who thought this was a good idea? It's not even a collectible, so most players going for 100% on their first run probably didn't even know about this, so they probably just had to replay the whole game to get this. But when you get through this, you're awaited with World Crown, housing 3 final levels, a mystery box one, a Captain Toad level, and the hardest level in the game, being a standard course. I love this level, and how it keeps the tradition of Mario games ending with some of the hardest levels out there. I had a lot of trouble with it, but I eventually pushed through. You may think that you 100% beaten the game after this world. However, you need to beat every single level with each of the 5 playable characters to collect the last remaining stamps. And I am not wasting my time doing that. Super Mario 3D World, an underrated classic. Over the years, it's gotten more love ever since Odyssey, and I hope that I showed a couple of you that it can be better than some of the other ones, even though it's designed differently. And with that, goodbye!